15% takeout.
A $1 minimum.
Big pool. Huge payouts. First Coast to Coast Pick 5. Every Friday through Sunday.
Welcome to the first Coast to Coast Pick 5 seminar. I'm Jeff Chapman. Would like to welcome in from That's What G Said, our friend Gino Bacola. Gino, how you doing, my friend?
Doing great, man. I love that video. I love the way they cut it up and edited it, where you get Frank and then you get Pete Aiello back and forth. We're all pumped for Coast to Coast Pick 5 tomorrow. Well, First Racing is partnered with DRF, so free PPs for the sequence. And what I'm pumped about, Chappie, no CAW wagering in those Coast to Coast Pick 5s now. So all of us that are maybe playing on a more affordable budget, the little players, we got a legit shot. The best bet in racing just got a little bit better.
That's right. No CAW in that pool. And like you said, the 15% takeout. It's terrific. We'll talk about last week in a second. And Gino, you are tomorrow's guest with Tom Quigley here at Santa Anita.
Love it. Frank Miramati giving me a nice little shout out at the end of the day. So talked with Tom. He asked me to come on last week, but I was at Gulfstream Park, so I wasn't able to do so. So we had a rain check ready to rock and roll for this week. Jump in tomorrow. We'll go through the full card, talk about some of the Pick 6 carryover. I think $56,000 plus carried over. So no shortage of opportunities to fire away tomorrow, Chappie.
Yeah, and my co-host joining us now from the Morning Line Sports Show seminar. Skip, what's happening, buddy?
Oh, buddy, looking forward to this weekend of racing, the coast to coast. You know, it's the best bet out there, I think. Last week, unfortunately, we missed it. We were all over it, but we missed the Chad Brown, and it killed us. But hopefully we can win tomorrow. And like Gino said, Sandy just got a Pick 6 carryover, so looking forward to that. So it's, you know, the Kentucky Derby, all these prep races coming up, and it's getting close, and it will be here before we know it. So let's have some fun and make some money.
Now, before we introduce our next guest, is Zenyatta in the room?
She is not. She's not in the room. She's mad at me. I was supposed to feed her. Tomorrow's her birthday, so she's got a big day tomorrow. She'll be 15.
Okay.
And I'm already in the doghouse.
That's his dog, Howard. So, yeah. So joining us now from the HHH Racing Podcast, Howard Kravitz joins us. Howard, first of all, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
Chappie, Gino, Skip, pleasure to be on. Very excited to join you guys for what's going to be a really good Coast to Coast Pick 5 tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. 15% takeout, by the way. I'm not sure that you mentioned that or not. It's a great bet, dollar-based bet. I have some very strong opinions. Whether they're going to be good opinions, we'll find out in about 24 hours. But pleasure to be on the show. And, of course, our podcast is extremely happy to be partnering up with Santa Anita this meet. And, of course, the meet after this main meet here.
Yeah, everybody go to HHH Racing Podcast. Watch it. Just subscribe to that. They do a bunch of shows. Howard does all kinds of things. And they're doing right now the Great Race Plays. And you're covering the Sunday Pick 4. But they cover all kinds of stuff. I've been on there before. It's wonderful. Howard, I got to tell you one thing before we get into it. Last night's show you did. If you had a guy at the very beginning of the show said he was new to racing. I think he's from out here. If you can get that name, or if he's watching, have him get a hold of me, and let's bring him out. We'll take care of him for a day. He's brand new to racing. I don't know if you remember that. It's at the very beginning of your show.
I think his first name was Juan. I'll go back and watch it. Getting his contact info will be tricky, though, because just because he's in the chat doesn't mean I have any contact information.
Right.
But I can get you a name, and maybe he's on one of your mailing lists or something. So I will do that for you. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that would be very cool. But HHH is partner with us. They're doing plenty of things, and it's great. We got to have some mix and mashes, with the crews together as we move forward, especially on the big days. So that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to it. Great race plays, by the way, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 on the West Coast. Sunday late Pick 4 coverage, and it's on the Santa Anita X handle as well as YouTube channel and our X and YouTube as well. So we've had great viewership in the first 5 weeks. Chappie, everyone should check it out.
Yeah, no doubt. And last week, I got to give some kudos, Gino. We got to give it to Skippy and Scotty. Couldn't join us tonight, but they couldn't have been more all over White Abarrio as a single that you could possibly get, right? I mean, it was
It was extremely impressive too. That's exactly how you want a single to win, or a horse who you're closing exotics with, right? He was traveling well throughout, didn't have an anxious moment at any point of the race. He was always in great shape there. And then honestly, for someone like me, I like Saudi Crown a little bit. He ran his race. He got the trip that he wanted up front, just wasn't good enough. Nobody was beating White Barrio that day. Yeah. He was absolutely the best. It was a great way for him in a big race to come home, win a big one. And it was a huge Saturday for Saffie Joseph Jr.
Yeah, no question. And yet somehow I know I singled White Barrio. I have nothing to do with that. I just
How did you not hit it, right? That's what you're about to say?
Yeah, 4 out of 5, and I think I was 8 deep in the race I missed. I think Skip missed the same race I did with the Chad Brown, and we didn't even talk. And you were deep there, right, as well?
I was, because that was the one that Charles Appleby had a horse. I can't remember the name, but it was a favorite, and we didn't like it, and we made
Nation's Pride. It was at Nation's Pride, and I think Spirit of St. Louis was the horse. I think that beat you, the 8.
Yeah,
right.
That wasn't the only Charlie Appleby that didn't run very well Saturday. But
Right.
that's a story for another day, John.
The last 6 months to a year or so, they've not been firing the way they were right off the bat when they came in, and they definitely get bet a lot, right? So they burn some money.
Yeah.
Watch Maidan Racing. I think he does pretty okay at Maidan, by the way.
Still doing okay overall. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now I'm going to put up the sequence that you guys, we already talked about this pre-show. We're just being honest here. As a producer, I'm pathetic. So as we move forward, we might have Gino or Howard work on this. But so far, I did get the opening correct. And now, Gino, I'm going to put up the sequence of the Coast to Coast. So it's baby steps for me, right?
So yeah, let's see. 1 for 1 so far today. 2 for 2. Look at that.
All right.
Look at you, Chappie. Well done.
There we go. So
and that's a good sequence, right? There's the Kitten's Joy at Gulfstream, which is race 10, mile and a 16th on the turf for 3-year-olds. Then you've got the Holy Bull, which is race number 11 at Gulfstream. And then you have the Forward Gal, which is a really good race number 12 for 3-year-old fillies going 7 furlongs. All 3 of the Gulfstream races this week are stakes races.
All right, there we go. So why don't we get this started here? I'm going to put the banner in now.
Look at this guy.
There we go.
You got it, Chappie. No problem.
I mean, you need to talk to Andrew back there. You got to get double the fees if you're hosting and producing.
Absolutely.
So, Andrew, we got to work on this. Chappie needs a bump in his pay.
If anybody's hiring and needs a producer, I'm available. Me or Skip, who seem to mess something up every week on our radio show, even though we do it. We actually have producers at Angel Stadium, but we do it on Instagram and Facebook Live, and we mess up probably 3 out of every 4 weeks with something. But one of these days, we'll get it all right. All right, let's get it started. So the first leg, Gino, I'm going to start with you, and that is the race 10. We're going to Gulfstream Park, and that is the Kitten's Joy. We've got a field of 8. What are your thoughts here in leg 1?
You have a Mibago to the outside who has been sharp. He's won 3 of his last 4. He won the Danya Beach and the Pulpit. Danya Beach was taken off the turf. Those are races that are like these, kind of the same sort of group of runners going long on the turf. The last one was on the synthetic. I think in this particular race, though, there's a little more speed. So I'm not sure if he's going to be able to control things like he has in the last couple. I'm looking at horses right to his inside. Coco Cool is pretty quick. I feel like when you say this horse's name, you have to say "Walking in Memphis" every single time, right?
Wow.
Who also shows a little speed there.
He likes to sing, and he's good there.
If I can make an excuse, I'll find one.
Multi-talented, very impressive.
Charlie's to Blame also could flash a little bit of speed. There are 2 horses I'm going to build a lot around in here. The first one, Maui Strong, the number 3, I think should be a really nice price in here. So you can just look at the form overall for him. As he went longer, he took a big step forward in his second start. Then in his third start, puts it all together at Churchill. Last time out, the race is taken off the turf. Still ran really well, and he was chasing Mibago in a race where there was no other speed to push Mibago. So I think getting back to the grass, Maui Strong will really help. I actually think Test Score might be the one to hold off. Like, he might be the horse to beat in here. Another one who you look, the improvement when this horse stretched out a little bit, 3 consecutive races that are very good. I mean, in his debut, he loses to Governor Sam, who won 3 stakes in a row. He finished 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Then he loses to a horse named Zulu Kingdom, who comes right back and wins following that race. Loses to a horse named Chasing Liberty, basically just on the front end that day, and huge gallop out from Test Score. So those are the 2, Chappie, that I'm going to kind of build a lot around, with the 3 Maui Strong and the 6 Test Score.
All right, so kind of your A's in leg one are the 3 Maui Strong and the 5 test, or excuse me, the 6 test score. Skipper, anything to add into this mix?
Test score is my top play. I really like this horse, but in the race, I'm going to go 3 deep. I'm going to use Charlie's to Blame also, the one that Gino didn't mention. He mentioned Maui Strong. That's going to be on my ticket. Charlie's to Blame, I'm going to put on. This is, Peter doesn't usually ship out of town and run his horses. He must really like this horse, and I was waiting for it to put it on the turf and stretch it out. And last time they did at Del Mar, they stretched it out going long on the turf. It broke from the rail, and it went to the lead. This horse doesn't need the lead, but it went to the lead, and it won like a good thing. They paid $400,000 for it. I love Louis Saez jumping aboard, so the 2's going to be on my ticket. I'm going to go 2, 3, and 6 in here.
All right, 2, 3, 6. And before we started, Howard said he's got some strong opinions, so I love it. So, Howard, any strong opinions in leg 1 here?
Not as much in this race, but I do want to say the DRF workout report, which I very much enjoy, came out about an hour or 2 ago, and it's changed my opinion of this race slightly. Tuscorg, the 6, guys, ran a monster race on Breeders' Cup weekend. That was a huge effort. It was a crazy 14-horse field, and he ran huge. I have mad respect for Grand Motion, guys, but the workout report is a little shaky, and I just have a feeling this is a means to an end to some bigger races this year. So I still have test score on top, but the horse that I'm really much more interested in the last few hours after handicapping this yesterday is the number 8, Mibago. Now, Gino, you brought up a good point with the speed, but here's what everyone's got to keep in mind. Number 5, Walking in Memphis, number 7, Coco Cool, and Mibago, they're all trained by Mark Casse. Guys, there's no way that Cassie's going to have those 2 of those 3 banging heads. So if Mibago, and it's a big if he can clear Charlie's to Blame, the number 2, or if Charlie's to Blame just decides not to send, I think Mibago, the 8, is much more dangerous than I had originally planned. The workout looked slow on paper, but got a B+ workout, his last one, where he finished very strongly. I think Mibago's improving. And I also want to look at number 1, Enter the Dragon. Guys, I love when horses change their style. Enter the Dragon, the number 1 for D'Angelo and Rajiv, who's had a great comeback here, was mainly a speed horse, but watch the replay at Tampa last time. He was loaded in behind, and he had a ton of horse, got a bad trip, and still won easily. If the pace does heat up, I might be more interested to Enter the Dragon, the 1, than test score based on the price. I'm going 6, 8, 1, but I do think it's pretty wide open.
Enter the Dragon. I think, was that a Bruce Lee movie, Gino? Enter the Dragon.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Chappie, you're batting like really well today from the producing. You're even picking out some of the pop culture references here and there. So well done today.
I'm on a roll. So Howard adds in the 1 and the 8 into this sequence. So we got a little spread coverage here at leg 1.
Absolutely.
All right. When we move to leg 2, this is race 5 at Santa Anita, where we've got an optional claimer, 6.5 furlongs down the downhill turf course, which we love. I'm going to make a big case for a bomb in here, but I'm going to go last. I'm going to see if anybody mentions it. So, Skipper, what are your thoughts here in leg 2, race 5 at Santa Anita?
My top play is going to be the 4, Word Play. Simon Callahan's having a great meet. He puts the blinkers on this horse. This horse has come out of key races. First time in the country, it ran 3rd to Vibez, and that horse came back and ran good in the American Oaks. Then it came back. They raced it at Del Mar a couple weeks later. It ran good. It got beat by the winner that's come back and won, I think, once or twice more. And Strutting came back and ran 2nd last Saturday, I believe. Then it ran against Lady Claypool, who came back and beat Strutting in the last race last Saturday. So I think this horse will really like the 6.5 down the hill. When they go that mile, Gino and I always talk about it. Usually they like this 6.5 coming down the hill. I think this horse will love it. So the 4 is going to be my top play.
Skippy, just while you're talking about the filly, because like while you're hitting on her, she looks so much like the blinkers will help down the hill too. She sort of looms up and then flattens out. Like her last couple races, you felt pretty confident about where she was traveling in those races. She so much looks like a horse who will appreciate that cutback. Completely agree with you.
Yeah, I agree. The other one I was going to mention is the 7, Miss Roberts. Now, going back on the 13th, I watched that work on XBTV, and I really liked it. I thought that was a really good work. Mullins takes over the training. He's only winning at 32%. Here's another one that I think will like this downhill turf course. And we know if they like it, they love it. And if they don't, then they can just toss them out. I think this horse will like it. I love Hector Barrios jumping aboard. Him and Mullins, nobody has a better winning percentage, it seems like, than those two. And then the other one I'm going to use, I'm going to put the 10 in only because there's no really speed. I think this horse is the quickest of the quick, putting the blinkers on. This horse will be in front, I think. The workouts are weird. The January 19th and January 25th workout on XBTV are very strange, especially the one on the 25th. It was going real fast, looked like it was trying to get out on the turn, and they took hold of it in the stretch, and it was going fine. And then all of a sudden, they just sat down, let the reins loose, and this horse took off again, going in the far turn. This horse will be in front. I got to put it on my ticket. And then the last one I'm going to mention is the Michael McCarthy. It's 1-for-1 over the Santa Anita turf course. I think this horse will love coming down the hill. I love the outside draw. They seem to have an advantage going into that first turn, that right-hand turn. The outside's always better than the inside. So all that being said, I'm going to go 4, 7, 10, and 12.
Okay. Yeah. We talk about XBTV a lot, and it's such a great tool to use. And watching the works, we do quite a bit. I'm very interested in mysticism. Clearly, the horse has talent, but the horse pulls in the morning, and that's without the blinkers. And now they're adding the blinkers. I don't know what to expect from that. I watched the works as well, but maybe Howard has some more thoughts on that. No one has mentioned the horse I'm going to make a crazy case for. Howard, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I don't know about crazy, but my top choice is a double-digit horse. So I'm going to disagree a little with Skip. I think there is quite a bit of speed. Now, you never know what's going to happen in these races, but I do think there's quite a bit of speed, and I think this race is wide open. I do agree with Skip that number 4, Wordplay, is the horse to beat. And just for your viewers and listeners to know, if I look to the right, I have a second monitor where my PPs are, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone. Mandela's got 2. He's got mysticism, but just to that horse is outside is the number 11. You like that one? Venganza. Yes. You like, is that it, Chappie?
That's my top pick. Yeah.
Same
and
thing.
we didn't talk, right, Chappie? Let the viewers know. We didn't know. Guys, Venganza on paper, 12-1 more on the 11. Few things real quick. She's a little bit slower than some others, no doubt about it. She's only at 6 starts in 5 as a 5-year-old. She's a bit ouchy. Mandela's really good with this type. This horse is learning to rate. I like the last race quite a bit with a 102 time form that fits in this race. I like the outside post going down the hill. I think she's tactical but can rate a little bit. And I think there's still upside, guys. And in a race where it's pretty wide open, I don't want to take a low price. And I know the 10 is going. I'm not saying the 10 is going to set it up for the 11, but just naturally it's going to be that way. Rispoli stays on. Give me Venganza at 12-1, the 11 horse. I'm going 11-4-1. I have way too much respect for, I think it's Motion, right? On Source for JJ. I got way too much respect for those connections, but I don't like the ship out west with no local works. So that would be the number 1 source I'm referring to. 11-4-1 to the hoop.
Howard, you and I,
of the coast to coast.
You and I are in trouble. I had 11-4-1 as my top.
Get out of here.
In this same exact top 3. And Chappie, you like this horse on top 2. Talk to us a little bit more about why you like him.
Okay, so I'm going to do the Gino deep dive.
Horse by horse, right? Race by race. You go through all the races and they make sense.
So the first race is a match race, 2 horses. So you just, that's whatever. But Papa Mandela is very conservative, right? And he throws this horse into the Santa Anita Oaks in start number 2. Toss that route, whatever. Next
and came back in not even a month, too.
Right.
Just came back really quickly in that start.
Correct. Then they come back almost
10
a
months
year later. Right. If you watch that race, Mike Smith didn't move on that horse till probably halfway down the lane. Yep. Then the horse ducks to the inside, explodes, gallops out on top. Then the horse goes down the hill as the favorite. Now, clearly something went wrong there, right? Because the horse goes back on the shelf.
Yep.
Then it comes back at a dirt sprint, breaks from the rail, whatever, eased. Last time out, like Howard said, rated a little bit, sat. Umberto is on this horse again. Now the horse comes back, cuts back. The work on December 26th, I know it was a way back, but the only one on XBTV. Very, very, very easy. I liked the work. And they did it without even asking this horse a drop. I think the horse has got a lot of talent. I love the outside draw, and I love the 12-1. Gino, add to my deep dive. I probably missed something there.
I like that you did that. I was going to do that exact same. I was going to use that exact same tool. I mean, you look at One Magic Filly, who she lost to 2 starts back, came right out of that race to win the Grade 3 following that. And then in the most recent start, was sitting really nicely just behind the leader, made an early move to the lead. Mid-stretch, this horse still has the lead mid-stretch, and then just gets tired and fades. Needed the race because you can see there's been so many layoff lines. Race, then a gap. Race, then a gap. This horse should gain so much fitness out of that race now cutting back to 6.5 furlongs. And as you were pointing out, the work pattern, the December 26th one that we can see is really good. The January 13th one on DRF, which you could get at shop.drf.com. Mike Welsh and the team, they do a great job with the work reports there. That was cheap plug, right? That was the best, like the best of the works. And then the next one was a little slower, and then the next one was just slower. You could see the pattern of really good, and then let's kind of back off a little bit. Let's just kind of make sure this horse is fit and ready to go. I think she's coming into this race really, really well. And if she's anything 6 or above, I think that's fair in this race from a price standpoint. So yeah. I think we might have a little bit of room to still get some value on her from where she is.
Go ahead, Skip. Uh-oh, he's chiming in.
You know, it's funny. I got a mark by the horse, but I'm so mad at this horse because after that February 3rd race, I bet a lot of money coming down the hill on this horse because I saw the same thing you did. Mike Smith didn't move a muscle on her. And I'm like, oh my God, this one, next time I'm all in. And I was, and she disappointed me. So I got that little sour taste in my mouth.
Howard, we hold grudges on this show. You know,
you guys know we're all putting this horse in 6th place tomorrow.
I
mean,
know.
Almost guaranteed this horse is going to run up the track or anything.
Stumbles at the start, and then we're done.
One other thing, and Skip, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the January 19th workout was 6 furlongs. Let's see. Richard Mandel with a filly with a 6 furlong workout. Copian, I think he's good. I think he's good with that angle, guys. So this is go time for this horse on tomorrow. We might be very wrong, but I feel great that you guys are along with me here on this because that gives me more confidence for sure.
I don't know. Like you said, we got the piano on the back now. All three of us love it.
That's all right. Let's ride it, boys. Let's ride to the winner's circle. Let's go.
All right. We are going to, what's the next leg here? Race 11 at Gulfstream. This will be leg 3. And this is the Grade 3 Holy Bull. Howard, what are your thoughts here in the Holy Bull?
My strongest opinion of this coast-to-coast pick 5 is in the Holy Bull. And I have some, I won't say inside intel, but I know I have one thing that none of you guys have with this race. The number 3 Tappan Street, I was there. I was at Gulfstream Park that weekend when Tappan Street debuted. I was just on vacation, but I had a media credential through the podcast and was in the paddock. I did not have a chance to talk to Brad Cox. Let me tell you guys something about number 3 Tappan Street. This is a beautiful, big, strapping horse. He is going to love 2 turns. Now, if you want to make the argument that this is too much too soon, it might be. I get it. But this horse costs $1 million. Do we really think Brad Cox is going to put this horse in a race where he doesn't fit or can't compete? His debut was so much better than it looks, in my opinion. He got shuffled back a little bit. He still came on and beat Bob Moe. He also beat a horse that beat a monster last of the Pletcher monster that was supposed to be, unbelievable. He beat that horse also in the debut. I think he's going to love 2 turns. And my other big thought in the Holy Bull, guys, Guns Loaded, the number 4. I don't think this horse wants any part of 2 turns. And as what we call on the show, Guns Loaded and Jose D'Angelo, the trainer, and IRAD, they've got what we call DFS, which is Derby Fever Syndrome. I think they're going to see if this horse can get 2 turns. Guys, based on what I see, I don't think this horse gets 2 turns at all. Now, you're going to say, what about Ferocious? he puts blinkers on, I think he's going. And I don't think that's going to be good for him because I think Guns Loaded's going to be all over him. I'm just not a big Ferocious fan. He's a nice horse, but he's been a lot of talk with not a lot of follow through, in my opinion, since his debut. And I think now is the time to get the price on Tappan Street, the number 3, guys. I'm going a big win bet on Tappan Street in this race. I'm going 3-2-4, 3-2-7. I actually think the 7's interesting also. And I would not be shocked if Tappan Street is a major player in this road to the Kentucky Derby. And in the Kentucky Derby himself, I'm a huge fan of Tappan Street.
That was almost a walk-off right there. I love it.
Sorry for taking so long, but I have very strong opinions, and we'll see what happens. I'm hoping if I get 5-2 on Tappan Street, I will be doing what we call in our podcast an unreasonable wager on number 3, Tappan Street.
Well, I mean, the best thing is not only did you do a big push for a horse, but you have a couple big reasons, especially Guns Loaded, that you're against, which is a great angle. I mean, that's what we love here. So let me ask you this, Skip. I don't know if you know all this, but Howard and I, the first time we met in person last year, I learned of the giant bet they had made on Sierra Leone to win the Derby. I don't know if you knew that, but Howard, you can fill them in a little bit because not everybody in this audience knows
the
whole journey there.
It doesn't end very well, as everyone knows, but I'll be very brief. The year before I had, I like playing the Derby Future, especially last 5 years. And last year I really liked the debut of Sierra Leone in New York, which happened on Breeders' Cup weekend in New York. So a lot of people really weren't really paying attention to it. Long story short, our podcast put $1,000 to win a future bet on Tappan Street, on Sierra Leone, myself and about 6 other people at 150 to 1 at Caesar. So we were live to 150K for Sierra Leone. We made that bet in November, guys, right after his Derby or his debut. We all know how it ended. I was there in person. It was absolutely heartbreaking. I was personally in for a 50K, so I had about a third of that ticket. But the journey was fantastic, and I still consider it one of my best successes ever, because when you place a future wager in November, guys, I mean, you just hope the horse gets to the Derby, and we had the Derby, favorite, and we ran, absolutely monstrous. So, I was proud of it, but boy, that was heartbreaking. last Kentucky Derby.
Yeah. Howard and I had talked, but he was out here for one of the preps. So we were watching it in the paddock before we walked over to watch, and you guys were all screaming and cheering. I can't remember what that race was.
It was Risen Star weekend last year.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't even, I'm lost. I started with Howard.
Tappan Street. Well,
Tappan Street.
And I'll kind of pick up where he was left off. There'll always be a race when I'm watching when I get the feels in my stomach for a horse that I think is the Derby horse. I'm wrong sometimes. I've been right a few times, but there's generally one race where I get it. And as soon as that horse ran, I came and told my dad, this is the horse that I like right now for the Derby. He was backing up in the race. Like if you're watching it, at one point he's sitting second, but he's kind of like having to be hard ridden early to keep up, because this is probably shorter than what he wants to do that first time out. So they're kind of hard riding him to keep up. And then top of the lane, you're like ripping your tickets up. He's backing up to 4th. Then the field kind of spreads out a little bit. He gets some daylight. As soon as there's racetrack in front of him, he starts gobbling it up. He goes right by the Lone Speed horse that day. I'm in a fantasy horse racing league. This is a horse that I picked as one of my top picks too, because I'm super high on him this year. I think it's a great spot. He can sit close. I'm hoping he sits 3rd, just kind of like Howard was projecting. Maybe even not far behind Guns Loaded. We'll see what they want to do with Ferocious, but I like him quite a bit in this spot. I think he's going to take a massive step forward here. And he's the one I've been waiting for. So Howard, I'm right there with you. You and I could be in some trouble this weekend.
I do wish he broke outside Guns Loaded. That's a minor issue for me. If he was outside Guns Loaded, I'd really, really like him in this spot. It might be a little bit dicey. It's a short run of the first turn. It's a short stretch, So like I said, he might lose tomorrow, but I love his potential going forward.
So Gino, is that your single as well?
I'm going to play tickets where I single him. Absolutely.
Okay.
No doubt about it. I'm less cold I'll play another one where I'm a little less cold on Ferocious than Howard, just because I think the key is they're making a change, the equipment change. So I really do think he is the type of horse, if you go race by race, the one that stood out to me was in the Hopeful, where top of the lane, he's floundering, he's backing up, and then Chancellor McPatrick comes right by him, and it's sort of like kicks Ferocious into another gear. He digs in and he tries to close with Chancellor McPatrick, and he runs second that day. He needs a little bit of focus. He's got ability, but his head has been a little all over the place. So I do think that with the blinkers on, that could really help a horse like that. So I'll be singling the 3 most of my spots. I'll play another one where I use the 2 a little bit, but I'm cold on Guns Loaded as well too. I don't think he wants to go that far. I think these horses are just better. I think they're just a tier better, and they're going to be breathing right down his neck.
All right. So all 3 of us now are on Tappan Street. So I'm kidding. I don't look at Gulfstream. I've never even heard of Tappan Street, but now I'm on it. So Skipper, what are your thoughts here? Are you going against the grain here?
You know, I'm not, but here was my thought process here. I got a few circles. Guns Loaded is not one of them. Ferocious is, but it's only got 3 workouts. I know the blinkers on. I don't know. I don't think that horse will. Maybe it wins a race. Maybe it doesn't. I just don't think it's going to be ready for this race. Obviously, it's not the goal. So I like the 3, but I was going to use a couple horses that have already won long, going 2 turns. And that would be the 1, the 5, and the 7. So I'm going to put the 1, 5, and 7 on my tickets. I'm going to use Ferocious. I don't think it'll win the race. Tappan Street, I love what they said. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 5, 7 on my ticket.
All right. So Skip.
To Skip's point about Ferocious, he did miss some works. He didn't work until right before New Year's after the Breeders' Cup, which I'm sure that was planned. But then he had almost a 3-week break after that. The vibes from me are just not good, and he's going to take a ton of money. And so you got to pick your spots, guys. And people at home, we could be very wrong, but I think this is the time to play Tappan Street and play against Ferocious. I think most of us on the screen agree.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Just for 30 seconds, I'm going to go way off the board here because we were talking about Gino, I think you were talking about the horse. One of the horses looked like he wasn't running for a second and then kind of kicked it in. There's Sunday. The Dean Pedersen horse is very interesting in the stake against the 2 Bafferts. It's a Tappet filly, I think.
Yes.
Is it right? She's got a lot. What's the name?
Yeah.
Is that? Was it Moment?
Moonlight or something? Yeah. The last version. Yep.
Our Moonlight.
That horse can run. And there is a work that's missed on XBTV. There's 2 Bafferts working, and this horse rolls by him. And that's how we figured out who that was and then backtracked on it. I'm going to bet that horse stretching out.
She's 5-1 on the morning line too. So and in the race where Tenma is going to take some money, you know that the other McCarthy horse, Justice Fancy, is going to take some money. Who just won.
The other Baffert who's 8-1 morning line
on the outside, probably will be shorter than our Moonlight, right? So you'd imagine those 3 probably get bet more. So at least in that race, you're going to be getting some value. So again, Chappie, you're already giving us plays for tomorrow too. Look at you. You're teasing or the Sunday selections as well. What a job hosting today. This is like
I just thought of that because if you watch that race, the horse looked like
reminded you of that.
Even Frank said like at the 3/8 Polish, the horse is kind of backing up. And then all of a sudden that horse kicked it in.
Yep.
And when that horse changed lead, she just exploded late. And I think there's a lot of talent. Skip, we were down there. We were in the winter. Your buddies were in the winner's circle.
Yes,
right?
we were. Yes.
Yeah. And you talked to the owners and they said, you live the dream, right? Or this is
they were going to get a lot of offers after that race. And I remember the owner was saying, no, we're in this game, to win. And this is a good one. And I'm not selling Listen, if the price is right, everybody will sell more than likely. But he was so excited about this and good for them. And boy, that horse ran through the TV screen that day.
Yeah. I mean, a lot to overcome, obviously, right? 2 turns facing some experienced horses, but the price could be right. All right, let's get back. Sorry, I got way off on a tangent there.
You got to start with Skippy in this race because this is one of your horses, right, Skippy?
Megahertz, one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Skip,
watch that horse.
And Well, this is 2 megahertz and one of the horses that you always like to play.
Right.
And who runs kind of like megahertz.
Right.
Skip, take it away. That would be race 6, the grade 3 megahertz, leg 4 of this pick 5.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. This is where I'm going to take a stand. And this wasn't the one that Gino was talking about because megahertz came from way out of it, but I really like Rashmi. I really like this horse a lot tomorrow. You know, this horse comes in from Woodbine. It ran at Del Mar. It won by 4.5 lengths. They brought it back a little over a week later, came back and won by 3 1/4 lengths. They put it in the American Oaks going 1.25 miles. That was, I think, too far for this horse. And it ran really good in the American Oaks. It broke from the way outside. Rosario took hold. It was dead last the whole way. He kind of was trying to find room. He kind of swung wide, turned it for home. Finished okay. Nobody was going to beat She Feels Pretty. She Feels Pretty is a monster. Anyway, this horse ran really good. Sneaky good in that race. I know it was beat 6 lengths, but watch that replay. It was really good. I love the cutback in distance. I love that Frankie Dettori's jumping aboard, and I love this horse tomorrow. I am singling Rashmi on my ticket.
Yeah, and obviously much more tactical than last time when she was wrangled back with that bad post by Rosario and Dettori, who, as we talk about many times, is much more aggressive than people realize, right? And
Right.
He'll have this horse forwardly placed. So
The one that,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, the one that Gino was probably mentioning that I like was Mahina, right, Gino?
Yep. Yeah, that's one of your faves who, just like megahertz, comes from the back.
Right.
And I will probably use those 2 who you mentioned and Rashmi. I remember the Rashmi was cross-entered in the American Oaks and then in another race where there was no speed at all. And she looked like she would have really been a major player in there, but they went for the bigger race, which sometimes you can understand, but she was just a longer shot in that race. You kind of knew she was going to be in tougher. The 3 horses who ran in front of her, they'd be favored in this race. All 3 of them, if they were in here. She Feels Pretty, Catherine and Marissa, and Maduro. I mean, all of them have excellent resumes, all stakes winners. She Feel Pretty was awesome there. Catherine and Marissa was really good. She won a big race at Kentucky. Maduro is a grade 3 winner, and she's never been worse than 3rd. We know her here in that she was in that 3-year-old filly division. Really, really good there. So, yeah, Rashmi's the horse to beat. But if you look at Mahina, she has 7 races going 1 mile on the turf at Santa Anita. In those 7 races, she has 4 wins, a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 4th. When she goes a little farther, I think she flattens out a little bit. She just loves a mile. The key is, will there be enough speed in this race to set up for her? What's tricky is, like, there are versions of this race where there might be, right? I just don't know how sure we are, because I could absolutely see a horse like Big Hug trying to get a little more aggressive. Sariha has shown the ability to show early speed. Omaha Girl can, and I think Mucho Macho Girl for sure will. So any combination of them could be pushing the pace a little bit. I want to use Mahina just in case, because she loves that 1 mile and she will come rolling. So probably a lot of 4, 6, maybe a little bit of the 7. I think I'll try to beat Sariha, who's just really sharp, but this is a tougher group. She'll definitely be facing tougher in here.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of speed in here, and I'm basically on those 2. They would be my A's. I don't know what to do with the Michael McCarthy horse on the rail off the long layoff, but he puts it in this spot, and it's there's nothing to go off of as far as work wise. So, any thoughts from you, Howard, in here?
Oh, I always have thoughts for sure. Look, the number 3 Saria, I bet last time. This horse, I understand that Saria is 2-1, so I'll just be very simple. I'm not getting cute in this particular race. The number 3 Saria won so easily last time.
Yeah.
You watch the replay. I know she got a perfect trip, but again, when I love horses that change their style and do it well. When Mathis had this horse, she was more of a speed type. Look what Glatt claimed, and now she comes off the pace and she does it well. I know those last 2 were, optional allowance, but I don't think this field is anything crazy. And to Gino's point about Rashmi, in a weird way, guys, I think the whole key to this race is a no-hoper, in my opinion. And that's number 7, Mucho Macho Girl, who is 12-1 morning line. And if it wasn't for JJ riding, would probably be 20-1 morning line. I don't like the 7 at all, but at least on paper, she's going to push the number 4 Rashmi if that's what JJ decides to do. And the 7, to me, guys, looks like is a one-way deal. So I'm hoping the 7 at least pushes Rashmi a little bit if Rashmi goes, which she will. I think Saria, guys, it's another perfect trip. And I think she's going to win win this race, her first, her stakes debut. Again, nothing cute. She's 8 for 27. She's a win machine. I'm going to stay with Saria here in this race.
And, a lot of times we watch horses that we've talked about plenty of times. Horses get in trouble and you want to bet them back. And then after a while you say, that horse makes its own trouble every time. Well, that's that can go the opposite way too. On a horse like Saria, people say, oh, it got a perfect trip. Well, that horse can be on the lead, sit just off. And especially with a good jock, they sit in a good spot always. So they make their own good trips. And so, sometimes people overdo it the other way. It's, they got the perfect setup. Well, guess what? This horse should sit a great trip right up the pace again. So it does make sense.
That's what people said about Pharaoh and Justify. They always got great trips. Well, no kidding, because they're tactical. You want to be tactical. Maybe not as much in turf racing, but I mean, certainly I completely agree with you, Chappie, on that.
Yep. All right. We move on to the final leg. That would be race 12 at Gulfstream. Another stakes race going 7 panels here. The Facing Tippin Forward Gal. And I will go back to you, Howard. Your thoughts here.
This race is tricky. There's a lot of release speed in this race. And one angle that we talk about, because we like to teach a lot on our show, because I know a lot of shows and podcasts just like, who do you like in race 7? It's I think it's important to teach, and I'm a teacher. I'm a high school math teacher of 28 years, and so I like to explain. Doesn't mean I always can be correct, but like Gino and Skip and you guys, I like to explain. People get way too carried away, in my opinion. I think it's proven out with horses like the number 9 Rojo Rita, who ran fantastic last time, right? It ran off the screen, won by 16, 83 buyer, 2-1 morning line. Guys, that was a 22-2 and a 46-2. Sorry, 22-1, 46-2. She got away with murder up front. It was a horrible field. I am completely against Rojo Rita. This is a completely different situation tomorrow than it was in her debut. Is she talented? Yes. Could she win? Sure. Not at my money. I like the two Brad Cox horses in this race. And by the way, I don't pick Brad Cox all the time, but he's really, his barn's going well. I like the one that's less fancy, the number 7 Eclatante, because I think Sai is going to take her a little bit off the pace. I think she wants to track and rate. I love the distance. She's dropping back from the goldenrod, and Good Cheer, another Cox complete monster who would be my Oaks favorite right now. She lost to. I just think the number 7 Eclatante, guys, is going to be one of the few horses in this race that can actually pass others and do it effectively from maybe 3 or 4 off. I'm going to go, I think the 11 Stunner is an obvious player. I like outside post going 7 or the flat mile at 1 turn. So I'm going to go 7, 11, 3 in this race. I just don't, like a lot of the legitimate, supposedly fastest horses in this race, because I think there's just too much of it in here. But I'm going to spread. I don't trust 3-year-old fillies in general. Again, 7, 11, 3 for me.
All right, so Howard is the Brad Cox topologist, and no, I'm kidding. He likes the 7, 11, and the 3 for Ian Wilkes, 8-1, and I like the big play against here with the 2-1 favorite Rojo Rita. Gino, your thoughts here in the last leg?
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if the 7 gets pounded. This horse just looks so good in the spot, and that's what it worries me, because her first 2 races are sprinting. They're fantastic. They're exactly the trip that we're looking for in here. A horse who's going to have some tactical speed, but can sit just behind him, then stretches out and just doesn't really want to go quite that long early on at that point, and loses to a couple of very nice horses. Good Cheer, who's probably at the top of the division right now, and Quiet Side just was second in the Martha Washington most recently. Yeah, I think the 7 is going to be really, really tough in here, honestly. And this, I'm probably going to play 2 tickets, one where I single Tappan Street and one where I single Eclatante, and maybe kind of build around there, and I can play a few others in the race. It's more that there are other horses in the race that I don't really love all that much. Exactly like you pointed out with Rojo Rita. Stunner's fine. I think from the outside, certainly she makes sense. I like the outside draw for her because I think she could finish a little bit. I'm going to throw the 1 Unchained Elaine, at least in the bottom of exotics. I think this one is a little bit sneaky. She has a little versatility. I feel like the cutback will help her a bit. She was in a race with 5G in Paradise City. The runner-up in that race just came back and aired, I think yesterday, 2 days ago, and they really kind of figured her out. So, yeah, I think it's going to all really come down to Eclatant for me in this last race, and I'll probably be hopefully alive leading into her.
If I may, Jeff, what odds, how low would you go on Eclatant? She's 92 morning line. She's not going to be 92. I would take her as low as 3s.
I was going to say, I think she's going to be about 5-2. I wouldn't be shocked
That'd
at
be
all.
a little low for me on.
I wouldn't necessarily want to play her on the win end there, but I think if she's anything above 5-2, that's probably fine. As far as if you want to make a win wager on her, I think that's where she fits. Yeah. But she just to me feels like a horse who is so well spotted in here, and I thought she was kind of one of those top tier of 3-year-old fillies, and she still might be, but I'm not sure if the rest of this group is that quality, and I really think she is.
Got it. Have you noticed, by the way, as we're going along here, Howard, we usually do the late pick 5 at Santa Anita. Last couple of weeks, we've done the coast to coast. So when it comes to Gulfstream, I just ask questions because I only look at Santa Anita. So I have no idea what we're talking about. Skip, your thoughts here in the last leg.
I was going to go 4 deep. The 2 that they didn't mention that I'm going to use is the Queen's MG. This horse has only had 3 works, which is a little, I don't know, concerning, but the horse does run well fresh. I did watch the January 5th and January 12th on XBTV, and I liked what I saw. I think this horse will get a great trip, and, Irad's riding for Sassy. Can't go wrong there. The 3 I'm going to use, this horse broke from the rail last time. It didn't win, but it got DQ'd up. This horse ran good and worked good on the 11th. I think it's going to get a good trip. I love the 8-1 price. It's got to be on my ticket. So I'm going to go 2, 3, 7, 11. I wasn't a big fan of Rojo Rita either. So, we're all thinking the same way here. I hope that's good.
Yeah. So, all right, a big push on the 7, obviously, and the 11, and then a couple of you guys mentioned the 3, and then Gino with Unchained Elaine at 20-1. So let's go around the room a little bit here. Little shameless plugs, because I think we're mixing new audiences and everything. So obviously you can catch Skip and I every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time on the Morning Line Sports Show. So that's, if you're local, that's on AM 830. But you can catch it on am830.net, or we also do it on Instagram Live and Facebook Live, and that's TML AM 830, the Morning Line Sports Show, TML AM 830, and that's 8 to 9 Pacific. We throw a little sports in there as well, but mostly horse racing. And so, Gino, that's what G said. You wear all kinds of hats. You're going to be out here tomorrow with Quigley. Tell us a little bit about everything you do and where they can find you.
Well, if you want to start, you go to shop.drf.com. That's where you can get the past performances. Howard was mentioned in Clocker reports. You can get those for Santa Anita in Gulfstream every day that they race. Saturday and Sunday, the Pick'em contest, free to enter. If you go to the website, pick'em.santanita.com, you can win $500 every Saturday, every Sunday. Answer the 12 prop questions. Don't forget about the tiebreaker. I heard from a little birdie there might be even a special bumped up one for Super Bowl Sunday next week, so maybe a little bit more in their pool. And there's also a big NHC qualifier tomorrow on ExpressBet. It's the full card of Santa Anita and the last 4 races of Gulfstream Park. We just talked about 3 of them right there, so we helped you out with a little bit of that tournament if you want to get entered in the NHC for next month, or you can pick for the 2026 NHC. So lot going on tomorrow. We'll be firing away at this coast to coast. I'm going to put my ticket together and then I'll post it on social media after we get some scratches tomorrow.
I love it. And then Howard, see, here's how we start. We started with you. We bring up the Sierra Leone, and we're like, and then we build you back up. We build you. That's how we do it. We knock you down. We wish you won. We were all cheering for you. I promise. But you've been a partner now. It's been terrific to the start. But tell everybody, because you've got the satellite shows, you got a lot going on. You guys are growing tremendously. So give everybody the whole spiel, shall we say, on the HHH and that you founded, that you started.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. And I also just want to mention before I do that, I think it's important. The number 3, Justin Queso, in the last race we just mentioned, has been outworking Burnham Square in the Holy Bull, the 7. And I think Burnham Square is not without a chance. So the 3-year-old filly, Justin Queso, in the Ford Gal, has been outworking the colt in the Holy Bull. Just want to mention that. HHH Racing Podcast, very quickly, I started it in 2021. We just had our 4-year anniversary 2 weeks ago. We are on YouTube. We're also on listening platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. The easiest way to find out about our information is 2 ways. Go to YouTube and just type in HHH, Howard's Horse Handicapping, by the way, is what it stands for. HHH Racing Podcast in the search bar. We've got shows Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights. Our Tuesday night show is 2 young guys who have a show called Pacific Horse Players. They're 2 guys, one's from San Diego, one's from Orange County, and they cover only West Coast racing. We've got shows Wednesday. We have 2 shows Thursday, including Great Race Plays, which covers the Santa Anita Sunday late pick 4. That's at 9:30 Eastern. So go to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so that you know when our content is arise. And then also, we have a great website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Very simple. We've got a whole boatload of information there. It's been a labor of love, guys. I'm so happy that I started. I've got a great group of co-hosts and people behind me. We're one big family. This podcast has allowed me to travel literally throughout the world. I was at Ascot and Shanti for the first time this past summer. And I love it, guys. I love covering Santa Anita and supporting First Racing.
Oh, and Andy's a teacher, so it's not like between you and Gino has so much energy. I don't know if he ever sleeps. Skip and I sleep enough for everybody else, but I don't know how you fit it all in, Howard.
It's not easy. Full-time high school math teacher is my year 28. Looking forward to retirement in about 5 years if I can last that long. I find a way. Well, you gotta have great people behind you, just like you do, Jeff, and all you guys. You can't do this alone, and especially with the amount of coverage that we like to provide. We do live shows on Saturdays where we show, we talk about racing in real time and talk about odds and whatnot, because I think that's a part of the game that needs to be discussed more, what's value, etc. So it's a labor of love, man. It allowed me to meet you, and you've been on the show, and love to have Skip and Gino on the show eventually as well. So appreciate having me on tonight.
Absolutely. Gino, real quick, I'm just going to show the sequence again. We'll go over the, there we go. Go ahead with the coast to coast, all the info there and what we need to know.
All 3 of the races at Gulfstream Park are stakes races. So it's Gulfstream races 10, 11, and 12, Santa Anita races 5 and 6. And this is one of those that, like it used to be, this is going to get over pretty quickly, right? We're going to be all within similar time of each other, only about an hour and a half, maybe max awesome. From the start of the sequence. And a couple big things to remember. Free DRF past performances now for all of these sequences. So you'll see us, we'll post the graphic, we'll post a link. It'll take you right to the page where you could download PPs for the entire sequence, all 5 races, and no CAW wagering. So when it's a $1 base minimum with a 15% takeout, they don't pay to any kind of carryovers. If it isn't hit, it carries all the way over to the next day. This is one of the best, most player-friendly wagers that there is in all of horse racing. The folks at First Racing, they kind of sat down. They said, what is the type of wager that the gamblers out there want? And it's something like this. So we're going to be firing away each and every opportunity we have on that coast to coast.
Hey, Chappie, host tip, third window from the right on the bottom of your screen, the third window from the right in StreamYard. You can see us and the graphic at the same time. If you ever want to try that, you don't have to try it now live, but it's on the bottom. Window. I think it's the third from the right, the window. If you just press it, and we'll stay on the screen, and you can bring up that coast.
I have no idea. We'll do that the next time.
We'll talk later.
We're learning. We did it. There was a good shift this time. He is a little, we don't want to go too far for him.
I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I froze on the screen, so I don't know.
We thought you fell asleep by the
Chappie, what button did you press? Chappie just pressed the button, froze Skip. I didn't know you had that capability on that. That's impressive.
And the look on your face, you look like
so frustrated. I know. He's bothered by something.
I mean, what is wrong with me? I'm sorry, guys. I'm awake. I'm listening to everything.
You look like a mummy, and then I thought you were like I don't know. Well, you haven't talked in 5 minutes. I didn't know. I thought maybe you were bored.
He looks like if we all were trying to have a staring contest, right? Don't laugh. Nobody laugh.
Well,
Oh
we do
my
when I
God.
sign off, we do have the staring contest because it takes a minute to go
Awkward.
on live. So,
Yeah.
all right. First of all that we just said, pick 5 and no CAW, 15% takeout. Remember also, first post tomorrow, 12 noon. We've been switching around a little bit. First
Pick
post on
6
Sunday,
carryover?
12 noon, and a pick 6 carryover at Santa Anita. So, for Howard, Seminar Skip, who hasn't moved in 7 minutes, and Gino, we want to thank you guys, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good luck
Thank
to
you,
everybody.
everyone. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.